Hello students, so coming back to chapter number 15, that is biodiversity and conservation. In this video class, we will discuss about the causes of loss of biodiversity and about how to conserve the biodiversity. Ona ngasigi sina biodiversity and conservation gi last class oigadini. Ona topic ani nainagani. Ambu topic ta causes of loss of biodiversity. Topic amana biodiversity point to conserve tokani habado one by one. Okay. So first come to factor for loss of biodiversity. And biodiversity mangdar boy ke factor lagi se. So there are four main factors which is responsible for loss of biodiversity, and these four factors are ahambada number one da habitat loss and fragmentation, number two overexploitation, number three invention of alien species, and last one is co-extinction. Or higher factor mari se kari har khana gya kanda, they are also known as the evil quartet. So in exam related to this, one question can be asked like this: what are the evil quartet for loss of biodiversity? Then you have to give the four factor. Okay, and here we will discuss this four factor one by one in details. So come to first point, that is habitat loss and fragmentation. And this habitat loss and fragmentation is one of the major causes of loss of biodiversity. And to understand this, let us take one simple example. So come to Amazon rainforest. This Amazon rainforest, which is considered to be the lungs of the planet Earth, are being cut down. These are being cut down because of two main purposes. One is for cattle farming and one is for cultivation of soybean. And this procedure or this process lead to what? Lead to fragmentation or degradation of habitat area. And this loss of habitat will definitely affect many animals and face the threat of extinction. Aduna sa hani di kaino harkanda nasagi Amazon and forest e akwai kadaba cattle farming tona ba kadaba cultivation tona da forest ma yan thale forest ma yan thadam kadare koina nasagi habitat area to destroy to bire habitat area to destroy to robana definitely nasa adu laiba sanga singdo adu gi leibam le roi. So definitely this fragmentation will lead to habitat loss. So this is one of the major factor for loss of biodiversity. Next come to overexploitation. Actually, it is the overuse of plants and animal by we human being. And we also know that we human beings are always dependent on nature for food and shelter, but sometimes we overexploit this natural resource. Aduna overexploitation haiba taragadi laiba resource singdo akhoi darkar tabadagi hindona koina use tobdo adubani ko. Aduna sina maram oidana akhoi overexploit tobadagi organism mayama extinct oikrabane. So this is about overexploitation. Next come to another point, that is invention by alien species. And here this alien species, it represent those new species which enter a new geographical area. That means for this geographical area, the new species which enter into that area represent an alien species, or you can call it exotic species, or you can call it foreign species. Auna particular region amada magi local species nataba mapane sanghalaiba anoba species to akoina alien species haine. And the point here is that when these alien species were introduced in a particular region, these alien species may cause disappearance of this local or native species. Si karigino haiba taragadi, these alien species they become too invasive for the local species. Auna particular region amada akoina alien species se introduce sorokanda karaganda local species to extinct uyiba yai. So this is also one of the major factor for loss of biodiversity. Okay, and here we will discuss some example which are given in our textbook one by one. Okay, so come to example of invention by alien species. So here Nile perch, sigi Nile perch hai se kanano hai bata, it is a predator fish ne. And when this predator fish is introduced into Lake Victoria, this particular fish it kill over 200 species of cichlid fish. Okay, aduna sida cichlid fish se extinct oido karigino hai bata taragadi alien species that is kanano Nile perch se introduce robane. Okay, next come to another example. So plants like carrot grass, lantana indica, water hyacinth, these are all alien species. But when these plants were introduced here, they become too invasive and it lead to the death of the local plant, and it results in loss of diversity of local species also. And another example is the illegal introduction of African catfish. It poses a threat to the indigenous catfish in our river. Aduna ꯄꯥꯝꯕꯤꯗ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯀꯦꯔꯣꯠ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯥꯁ ꯂꯦꯟꯇꯦꯅꯥ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯀꯥ ꯋꯥꯇꯔ ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯤꯟꯁꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯂꯣꯀꯦꯜ ꯁ꯭ꯄꯤꯁꯤꯁ ꯑꯝꯇ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ ꯑꯦꯂꯦꯟ ꯁ꯭ꯄꯤꯁꯤꯁ ꯉꯥꯛꯇꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯃꯣꯏꯁꯦ ꯏꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯣꯗ꯭ꯌꯨꯁ ꯇꯧꯔꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯀꯩꯗꯧꯒꯦꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯂꯣꯀꯦꯜ ꯁ꯭ꯄꯤꯁꯤꯁꯁꯤꯡꯗꯣ ꯑꯦꯛꯁꯇꯤꯡ ꯑꯣꯏꯍꯜꯂꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯂꯣꯀꯦꯜ ꯁ꯭ꯄꯤꯁꯤꯁꯀꯤ ꯀꯩꯗꯧꯔꯦ ꯗꯥꯏꯕꯔꯁꯤꯇꯤꯗꯣ ꯗꯤꯀ꯭ꯔꯤꯁ ꯇꯧꯔꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯗꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯐ꯭ꯔꯤꯀꯥꯒꯤ ꯀꯦꯠꯐꯤꯁ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯉꯀ꯭ꯔꯥꯏ ꯀꯥꯡꯒꯨ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯁꯤꯁꯤꯅ ꯏꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯣꯗ꯭ꯌꯨꯁ ꯇꯧꯔꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯂꯣꯀꯦꯜ ꯀꯦꯠꯐꯤꯁꯁꯦ ꯁꯤ ꯑꯦꯛꯁꯇꯤꯡ ꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯐꯦꯛꯇꯔ ꯑꯣꯏꯍꯜꯂꯦꯕ So these are some example of invention by alien species. Next come to co-extinction. So actually what happened here, those organisms which are interdependent, they usually extinct together. That is, the loss of a species will result in the loss of other species that depends on it. Aduna co-extinction da kadauge har kanda interdependent oiba organism sing co-evolve to organism sing do or the organism ama extinct oiba taragadi another organism do adu sudum extinct oikineba. So this is co-extinction. Okay, so let's say some example. So let's take the relationship between this fish and its associated parasite. So here what happened, if the fish become extinct, then definitely the parasite will also become extinct. Now come to another example, co-evolved plant and pollinator. Here also the extinction of one partner will lead to the extinction of other partner. So definitely organism which co-evolve together sometimes lead to co-extinction. Aduna punna punna evolve tominaba group singdo moi punna punna kadoni extinct omineba. This is something about co-extinction. Okay, and this is also another factor for loss of biodiversity. Next, let's see why we have to conserve our biodiversity. So the main reason for why we have to conserve our biodiversity, it can be categorized into three groups. Okay, first one is narrowly utilitarian, second one is broadly utilitarian, and third one is ethical. Okay, and we have to discuss these three factors one by one. So first come to narrowly utilitarian. Here human being derive countless number of benefit from the natural like food, firewood, drugs, construction material, etc. etc. Okay, auna akoi mayam obtain tori adu hari mayam se akoi yaudragasu akoi hingbadi yariba auna dakar di taba depend toba ado yaudragasu dum akoi hingbadi yariba sumba dakar ta posing se karigi makha thame narrowly utilitarian makha thame. Now come to broadly utilitarian. Here biodiversity, they play an important role in our ecosystem as they provide oxygen and they help in pollination. This is the main process. Okay, aduna akoi hingbada oxygen darkar type and oxygen se akoina hek popadagina sidibo darkar oxygen se it is given by nature free of cost. Ado akoi oxygen value khangani when we are just admitted to hospital. Aduga plants pollination is very much important. Because after pollination there will be fertilization and after fertilization there will be product man do lakadine ana pambi da pollination da katai adu pollination do dum kadoba nature da tawle ma thane aduna sina kai maka thame koina broadly utilitarian maka thame. Next come to ethical. So here every organism has an important role in an ecosystem and no organism is useless. So it is our moral and ethical duty not to destroy them. Okay, there is every organism singse hingbagi right loi legane aduna tana magi important role mo legadeni ko sina mono widana biodiversity se conserve to dakar ta. So these are the 3 points for why we have to conserve our biodiversity. So come to next point, and it is about the conservation of biodiversity. So there are two basic way for the conservation of this biodiversity, and these two basic way are, one is in situ conservation and other one is ex situ conservation. Okay, and to understand this, let's differentiate these two type of conservation, in situ and ex situ. Come to first point. In situ conservation, what happen? The organism, the endangered plant and animal species are conserved or protected in their own natural habitat. On other side, ex situ conservation, it is a conservation or protection of plants and animals away from their unsafe habitat and placed in specific setting where they can be protected and given special care. Okay, aduna in situ hai taragadi yam lai poini ko kaina kana organism do conserve tawdini protect tawdini ko kanada in its own natural habitat magi adum habitat mai mayum du adum kan bigade. On other side, ex situ conservation haigana magi habitat to endanger or kana puthopiraga atopa jaga amada koina protection pibibado anu ke koina we call it ex situ conservation. Okay, and some example of in situ conservation are national park, biosphere reserve, wildlife sanctuaries, and zoological park, botanical garden, wildlife safari, seed bank. These are different means of ex situ conservation. Okay, so these are the two ways by which biodiversity can be conserved. Next, come to another point, and that is sacred grove. So this sacred grove, these are the forest area which are protected by certain communities due to religious reason. Okay, and it can be considered to be the most undisturbed forest area. ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯁ꯭ꯋꯥꯏꯗ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯎꯃꯪ ꯂꯥꯏ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯎꯃꯪ ꯂꯥꯏ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯃꯥꯅ ꯎꯃꯪ ꯂꯥꯏꯁꯤꯅ ꯀꯕꯔ ꯇꯧꯔꯤꯕ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯁ ꯑꯦꯔꯤꯌꯥꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯣꯇꯦꯛꯁꯟ ꯄꯤꯌꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯣꯇꯦꯛꯁꯟ ꯄꯤꯔꯤꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯁ ꯑꯦꯔꯤꯌꯥꯗꯣ ꯀꯔꯤ ꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯃꯁꯥꯅ ꯁꯦꯀ꯭ꯔꯦꯠ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯨꯞ ꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯗꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯑꯇꯣꯞꯄ ꯖꯒꯥꯗꯁꯨ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯅ ꯑꯆꯧꯕ ꯂꯥꯔꯖ ꯑꯦꯔꯤꯌꯥ ꯑꯣꯐ ꯂꯦꯟꯁꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯐꯨꯜ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯣꯇꯦꯛꯁꯟ ꯄꯤꯌꯦꯕ ꯖꯁ ꯂꯥꯏꯛ Khasi and Zentia Hills in Meghalaya, Aravari Hills of Rajasthan, Western Ghat region of Karnataka and Maharashtra, Sarguja, Chandra and Barstra area of MP. And one of the important of sacred group is that they represent the storehouse of valuable medicinal plant and plant with high economic value, and even it serve as a refuge to threatened plant and rare species. Aduna nasagi sacred group ta kai lemani koina threatened orba pambi sing haitarepa valuable pambi sing se so as preserve tor lemganeba. So this is the important of sacred group. Now let's say some other point related to in situ conservation. So first come to endemism. So endemism actually it is the ecological condition of a species in which the organism or the species they are found only in a definite geographical area and they are not found anywhere. Aduna endemism habdi kesunati ngasai organism ki condition duni karamba condition na kanda ma se my habitat to the natana atopa jagada leitabado atop jagada phangdabado adugi condition when endemism haiba. So here the point is that if you want to conserve and protect an endemic organism, what will you do? Definitely you have to follow in situ conservation. Okay. Now come to hotspot region. So hotspot, these are the resource and the most threatened reservoir of plant and animal species. And initially there used to be 25 hotspot region, but now the number is raised to 34. And of these, India has 3 hotspot region. First one is Western Ghat and Sri Lanka range. Second one is Indo-Brahman range, which include Manipur, and the last one is the Himalayan range. Next, let's see some other point related to ex situ conservation, and it is about cryopreservation. So cryopreservation actually it is a process in which cells, tissue, organs they are conserved or stored at very low temperature to maintain their viability. Now, cryopreservation to this karino kan cell, tissue, organs singdo store to gadani low temperature da kyam loy gadaba freezing point ki loy damni around at minus 196 degrees Celsius Canada liquid nitrogen sinaraga kadawna kanda to maintain their viability or to maintain their fertility. Like this, we can even store gamete of threatened plant and animal species. Okay, and seed of many plants can also be stored in viable state in seed bank through cryopreservation. Now come to last point for this chapter, that is the Art Summit. So for the conservation of biodiversity, a historic convention known as the Art Summit was held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, and this summit called upon all the nations to take up 2 important measures. Okay, and these measures are number 1, conservation of biodiversity, and number 2, sustainable utilization of its benefit. So these are the measures which are taken up during the Art Summit. Okay, so this brings me to the end of this class, and before you wind up, let me remind you of what we have learned in this class. So in this class we have learned about the factor for loss of biodiversity and about why we should conserve our biodiversity and how to conserve our biodiversity. Okay, and hope you can understand each and every point, and thank you very much for your attention.